here's what we're going to do. I want everybody on your table, there is a note card. Everyone grab a note card. Quickly. Everyone, white room, red room, every individual grab a note card. You may need to tear it in half if you have a lot of people at your table. But quickly, and then everyone grab a pen. We're going to do a fun activity together. And then everybody look back up at me, even in the white room when you're ready. Okay, everybody has a note card. Okay, you just need to write one word. So if you need to split it in half, no problem. Okay, now listen carefully. Gentlemen especially, because you don't listen. Ladies, you can pay me later. All right, listen. When I tell you to go, both rooms are going to remain absolutely silent. You're going to make no reaction, no facial expression, no noise. You're simply going to write down the animal that you see. No noise, no talking, no looking at your spouse, no looking at their paper. I want you to simply write down the animal that you see. White room, do you understand? Got it? All right. Is everybody ready? You have a pen and you have a piece of paper or something to write on. All right, I want you to write just the letters. Write the animal that you see. Make no noise. Are you ready? Go. Some of you are nervous. You don't know if you're going to pass or not. It's okay. All right, listen up. When I call out the animal that you wrote down, I want you to just lift your hand, okay? So, how many of you, can we put it back on so I can look at it? How many of you saw a bunny? Raise your hand. Put your hand down. How many of you saw a rabbit? Okay, congratulations. That's awesome. Now, how many of you saw a duck? Oh, some of you are trying to figure it out here. What happened? How many of you saw both? Be honest. From the get-go, you saw both. Some of you have already done this before, right? You already knew. Okay, now, so let's zero this in for a second. Let's think about it. We looked at the same image, but a good chunk of us saw two different things. Some of you saw a duck. Others of you saw a bunny or a rabbit. And you looked at the same thing, yet you saw two completely different pictures. Now that you look at it, you could see them both, right? Because once you get perspective, all of a sudden you can't miss it. Now listen, the same thing happens when you and I get into our marriages and we embrace conflict. Sometimes we can be looking at the very same image, but looking at it, or the very same issue, and be looking at it through two completely different perspectives. When that happens, guess what? Our conflict typically heats up because we don't quite see what's happening on the other side. We only see it our way. So let's use a couple of examples. Let's say the husband's sitting on the couch and the wife shouts out from the kitchen, "Hey, did you eat the last bit of ice cream?" Now in her mind, she's thinking, if not, I'm going to serve him some and I'm going to show him some love and I think he's going to be really happy. But on the couch, Mr. Husband begins to think, she must be thinking I don't eat right. I ate the last bit of ice cream. My diet's all out of whack. Are you nagging me about my diet right now? Seriously? Right? And you saw two completely different things. Let's say your lovely wife comes home. Gentlemen, learn from this. Your lovely wife comes home sporting a brand new dress. Husband asks, "Did you buy a new dress?" In his mind, he's thinking, "Because you look gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous." Gentlemen, write this down. However, she walks in and she hears, "Did you buy a new dress? You sure are spending a lot of money on our wardrobe, aren't we? Didn't you just buy a dress last?" See, same issue, different perspectives. In fact, both wanted to have good intentions, but sometimes we don't. And so, not only do we deal with perspectives, we also deal, with perception. And perception is the idea of what you put on someone else. Our perception is, I see my spouse as this, even though sometimes that's not actually the reality. But sometimes with our perception, we can put things on people, our attitude, and things can become, in our mind, the sole reality when there is more to it. When we understand perception, we begin to understand a little bit more about actually why we are fighting. In fact, studies show us that most fights, most conflicts can boil down to actually two very fundamental, very root things: perceived threat and perceived neglect. Perceived threat and perceived neglect. So here's some examples. One person feels unjustly blamed or controlled. They feel perceived threat. I'm constantly being blamed. I'm constantly under control. He's constantly critical. She's constantly critical of me. You feel threat. The other one, though, might say, well, you feel neglected, or you feel like you really don't care about me. This thing that you did, or this action, or this lack of action shows me that you don't really care, and you're feeling perceived neglect. See, the core issue, the issue that you're fighting on isn't always the core issue of the problem. So let's unpack these two for a minute, because I think this can be helpful. First, let's look at perceived threat. Okay, now here's an actual definition so you can kind of put your mind around this. It's signaled when you perceive your spouse to be aggressive, demanding, or critical towards you. Don't raise your hand, but has that ever happened? Okay. Here's an example. Let's say that you're hanging a picture. Couples should never hang pictures together, but let's just say you decided to. You're hanging a picture, and let's say that the husband is giving the instruction while the wife is trying to hold the picture together, right? Has anybody been there? Did this happen this week? I apologize. This wound may be fresh. All right, and so the wife is trying to position, the right side, apparently this did happen. Forgive us all. All right, so you're hanging the picture, and all of a sudden the husband's going, listen, can you put it up a little bit higher? I told you already, a little bit higher. No, a little bit more to the left. No, you need to get up on the book, get up on the table there, step up on the table so that you can hold the book. And then the wife goes, oh my gosh, he's just so demanding, he's so critical. And she tries to put her foot on the desk, but he's got some books on the desk. So she goes, well, you have 20 books on the desk. And he looks over and he goes, there's only 6 books on the desk. There's plenty of room. Put your foot up on the desk. She puts her foot up on the desk. He goes, you know what, I've had it. She kicks the books across the room. Looks at him and says, why do you have all these stupid books? Now, what do we know? The book wasn't the problem. The problem was she felt threatened because he was critical. He was short with her, short-tempered. He was giving her he was telling her what to do, controlling mixed with criticism. And the truth is, the books had nothing to do with it. They were just the overlay. What was really happening is she felt threatened. Here's the triggers. I want to say them again. When you perceive threat, spouse appears critical, judgmental. Don't look at your spouse, by the way. That's never healthy. Wait till FaceTime next week. Critical, judgment, controlling, demanding, and attacking. Now let's look at perceived neglect. Let's look at the other one. This is signaled when, definition of signal when you perceive your spouse is not investing in you or in your relationship. Okay, so my wife's next door, so I can tell this story. Someone close the door real quick. Just kidding. So this week, so my wife went to the store. I asked her before she went to the store, can you buy me some more deodorant? I like both. I like the spray and I like the stick because I work out a lot. And so I just go back and forth. Well, my wife has also been struggling. Sarah's been struggling with some allergies this week. Maybe some of you as well. It's been a rough week. And when she has allergies, I should know that you just don't spray anything in the house. There's no spray, cologne, air freshener. There's nothing that works. It's a problem all the time. Well, I, as a good husband, I feel like she's going to pop in the door at any minute. As a good husband, I said, well, you know what? I want to use my spray deodorant. Is this too personal? I apologize. But I'm going to go in the closet so that she doesn't smell it, right, guys? I mean, come on, this is smart. Trying to take care of his wife, jumps in the closet, sprays on the cologne. Walk out into the kitchen, go to grab my bowl to be another good husband, to put it in the sink. I rub right by her where she's standing at the sink. I put my bowl down thinking she's about to go, thank you for helping. And she goes, did you spray something? Now, first of all, she's never noticed it actually on me. It's only been in the room in which I sprayed it. And I looked at her and I said, yes, I did. My deodorant, thinking, you're welcome. I used what you bought me, right? Like, I'm taking advantage of it. And then we didn't talk. Then later that day, I text her, and spidey sense of a husband, you just know something's off. I said, babe, I'm really sorry that you're still not feeling well, and I'm also really sorry that I sprayed, that deodorant. I'm sorry I tried to smell good. Just kidding. And you know what her response was? Thank you. That actually really did hurt my feelings. And at first, I was like, what? I don't understand. I tried to I went into the closet. I used what you bought me. But what happened? She perceived neglect. She didn't care about the deodorant. What she felt was that you should have remembered that I was struggling with my allergies, and I feel like you didn't care when you would spray something like that on you and run the risk of me smelling that and it becoming worse, right? Perceived neglect. Nothing to do with deodorant. It was about the neglect. And so oftentimes, in our fighting and in our bickering, we can find ourselves with some deeper issues that if we understand the deeper issues, if we can get to the heart of what's going on, we can make progress, and here's why. If we had just fought about the deodorant, we'd probably have the same problem next week. But if we understand the root of what led to that, we could say, I need to remember she's looking to be more taken care of. She wants to be remembered, and I need to make sure that I show that. Now we're combating the neglect versus just the battle over deodorant. Okay, now I want to move quickly through a couple of quick things. I started thinking about where we kind of go from here, and I landed unexpectedly on here's the truth. We all fight, right? Okay, just everyone say yes. Okay. We all fight, and we all fight about different things. I'm pretty sure no one in this room or that room fought about deodorant this week. Am I right? 100% right. So we all fight, but most of us, we fight about different things. However, there are 5 core things that most married couples tend to fight on. And that's what I want to look at really quick. I want to show you these 5, and then I want to just throw out a couple things that might help us simmer them down. So we'll move quickly, but if you want to jot these down, I think this will be, whoa. That's a sign from the Lord. You better write down. Okay? Everybody grab your pen. All right, I may need the handheld in a minute if that keeps doing that. Okay, so here's the big 5. Let me just send them all to you real quick. Money, sex, work, parenting, housework. Sound familiar? Yeah? Today on the way over maybe? I don't know. Money, sex, work, parenting, housework. Let's look at these and let's look at a few things to help us kind of simmer them down. Let's look at the first one, money. Money, honey. Studies show that couples fight more about money than any other issue. Now, I would say to you, for Sarah and I, that's not true. That's not our main issue. But most likely, the studies are showing that in this room, most of us, if we had to see where most of our fights came from, or a good chunk of them, they're going to come from money. But here's what's interesting. Studies also found that financial disputes to be strong indicators of a couple's stability. Now, that's interesting. How you handle that conflict of money says a lot about who you are. In fact, they say that couples that truly have lots of conflict over money have a 30% higher risk of divorce. Now, that's very interesting. So money's a thing, and we want to acknowledge that. Now, let's talk about this, because typically money fights are not about money at all. They're about something deeper. Imagine that, right? Okay, so let's have a few examples, okay? I'm sure no guy in this room would ever do this because we're all smart, we're all wise. After this 6 weeks is over, I think. All right, so gentlemen, you run out to Best Buy. By the way, at some point in my life, I was banned from Best Buy by my loving wife, at least not to go alone, because I always came back with something. But let's say that you bought a big flat screen TV, brought it home, put it up, and you're feeling like a champ. The only problem is you didn't ask your wife for permission because you're a man. You don't need to ask for permission. You just bought the TV. But then all of a sudden, your wife comes home and she's got a brand new pair of shoes. That pair of shoes costs $79.99 plus tax. Don't forget the tax because it matters. And you look at her and you say, I can't believe you bought those shoes. Now, let's be real. Normally, you probably wouldn't be mad about the shoes, but it's because you just bought a TV that costs a lot of money, and because you spent that money, there wasn't a lot of money left, so when she bought the shoes, all of a sudden it put you in trouble. It wasn't her fault, it was your fault, but the problem is you're fighting, and it has to do with money. Here's number 2. Let's say that one of you wants to put more money away for retirement. That's a wise thing to do. Want to put more money away. But the other one's saying, hey, we're putting money into retirement, but I don't want to put that much because I want to enjoy this life now. Right? We're here, we've got time, we've got kids, or maybe we've got energy to go and do something. We should not invest that money. You have a dispute, it's over money. Let's say that the pastor, don't worry, I'm not going to pass any buckets tonight. Let's say the pastor says, hey, we're going to do a new missions initiative, and we want to ask everyone to be a part of it. We're going to ask that you give a little bit more than your offering so that we can all band together and put this mission project forward. You hear that announcement, and you go, that sounds awesome. I want to do that. You look at your spouse, and they go, yeah, not interested. 3 different scenarios. They all involve money, but are they really about money? So think about the first one. The TV. Gentlemen, please write this down. Don't ever do that. If it's over a certain amount of money that you and your spouse decide, you should just call first or be ready to take it back. And don't hang it on the wall. I didn't have that in my notes. That was good. Can I have a pen really quick? Let me add that. Don't hang it on the wall because it's harder to take back, unless that's the strategy. Anyways, okay. But let's think about the flat screen TV. What was the problem? Was the problem money? No, the problem was a fear of not having influence in important decisions. You felt like you had no say. He went and did that without you, without asking, and so therefore you have no influence. You can't even buy a pair of $70 shoes. Let's look at the next one. Was it a fear of retirement? Was it money? Or was it a fear of not having security in your future? Some of us live a little more free, a little more loosey-goosey, but others of us really do care about those details and want to plan for the future and always be prepared. And when you take something like that away, you lose some security about the future. Or what about the third one? The church campaign giving to this mission project. Well, it's really a fear of no respect being shown for your values. What you value, you don't feel like your spouse values. And when you get excited about using your money for something good, and it gets shot down like that, you have... See, it was all about money, but it really wasn't about money. It was about something deeper. Here's the second one. Sex. Everyone cringed. Everyone looked awkward. Trust me, it's no awkward than it is for me. All right, you want to fire me up? Here you go. Do you ever wonder if at bedrooms, kitchen counters, and things I can't say beyond that, all across America, that married couples are having more and better sex than you? Don't raise your hand. Don't look at your spouse. Just think about it. Do you ever wonder if that's a thing? Do you ever wonder, like, are we the only ones that don't experience all of these things like I think everyone else does? The answer would be, for most people in this room and in that room, the answer would be, you're not alone. As crazy as it is to think about how saturated with sex our culture is, from movies, music, TV, music videos, fill in the blank, to think about marriages having, we'll say, sexual inadequacy seems absurd, but it's 100% true. And in fact, the reason that most couples fight is not on crazy, kinky stuff and what to do. It's really fighting about frequency. That's the crux of the issue. How often we get together intimately is the problem. Here's what's interesting. They break married couples down into 3 categories, and it almost splits evenly. The 3 categories are this: the married couples that have sex twice a week, the married couples that have sex 2 times or more a month, and then the married couples that have sex 2 times or more a year. And that last one sounds kind of crazy, but I've been around a little while, and as I've met more people and done more visiting, can I tell you that that last one is 100% true? In fact, there's some couples that it would be years. Years. So most of the time, now don't get me wrong, there's always other things that could be there, but for most of people, it is frequency that is the crux of the conflict. The most common reasoning, you could probably answer them. I'm too tired, or I'm not in the mood. See, the problem is, though those things are probably true in that moment, the problem really is simply a coordination failure. It's a coordination failure. We didn't coordinate. We didn't plan. We didn't account, especially when we started having kids and we had jobs and we got busy and we got tired. We got a little bit older and we found other things, or TV shows, anything that got in the way, and we stopped coordinating, and that lack of coordination led to a lack of frequency, and that lack of frequency led us to frustration. And so we find ourselves in trouble. And it's simply generated around frequency. Here's a couple of quick thoughts. Common misperception is thinking that my spouse doesn't want to have sex as much as I do. That's a common misperception, studies tell us. And it also advises us to be very careful that we don't add in these snide remarks of, well, if we just would have sex like everybody else. Oh, now you want to. Oh, okay, fine. All that does is drive a wedge in between that moment of intimacy. So thought number 1 is kind of get over the fact that you feel like that's not how it is and figure out how to get on the same page. Here's number 2, leads right into it. Number 2 is, and this is where you're all going to cringe, but it's okay. Discuss your sex drives. By the way, everything that always feels awkward, for most people it can usually be helpful, so try to bear with it. Talk about your sex drives. Talk about what fires you up. Because if you don't talk about it, guess what? You lead yourself into some coordination failures. Now, some of you are like, if we're about to do face-to-face time, it's going to get weird. Well, listen to this. If it's weird for you now, it means, some of you really didn't recover, I'm sorry. But if it's weird for you now, it means you don't talk about it. And if you don't talk about it, that's probably the reason why you find yourself in this place. And maybe you didn't say, amen, that's us, we never have it. But by the way, sometimes it's perspective, right? A guy may say, we only have sex 3 times a week. And the wife is going, we have sex 3 times a week, right? Sometimes it's perspective. But if you would just talk about it and get on the same page, you might be able to work out. And here's what's funny. Sometimes we think it's like crazy stuff that gets our spouse fired up. You get what I'm saying when I say fired up? All right, try not to lose you. Sometimes it's as simple as when my husband wears a suit. Yeah. So if you just talk about those things, you're great. And then, guys, you just wear your suit to bed and you're good to go. Okay. Okay. The timer that went off was for the end of my time. So let me just give you these. I'm just going to spit these 3 at you really quick, and then maybe next week we can circle back. Number 3 is work. Chances are one or both of you eat, drink, and sleep or breathe work. Listen, that is not uncommon, okay? Because we are all wired by God for purpose. We're wired with purpose. So it's not uncommon that you want to work hard, that you work hard. But you got to have balance. And you know what they say is the best thing to have balance? Date night. Literally. The best response to couples that struggle with too much work is to get out and have a date night. And you are welcome that we have given it to you every Wednesday night for free. Minus dinner. That's it. But even beyond this time, it's good to get out there, to do something you love, to enjoy. Don't talk about kids, don't talk about work, just talk about each other. Number 4, parenting. I don't need to worry about this much because in a couple weeks, in November, we're going to take a break from date night, then we're going to come back in November for 3 weeks, and we're going to have date night, but we're going to have a parenting focus for those 3 weeks. So we'll circle back on this topic a lot, but basically the simple thought is if we can just get on the same page as parents, we can start slowly chipping away at a lot of the conflict that happens. It's typically because we just didn't see eye to eye. And then finally, housework. I really didn't want to skip over this one because I think it's a thing, but housework, here's what we'd say. If you are the one that's keeping score of all the things he or she didn't do, you're the problem. The second thing I'd say, I should have stopped at the timer. Sorry, babe, I'll see you in a minute. The second thing, though, listen, the second thing is, remember that chores don't always split down the middle. Housework doesn't always split down the middle. Sometimes it's not just a 50-50 split. Sometimes we divide it out based on things that we're really good at, things that we have patience with, and things that our schedules allow us to do, but don't let it be dump it all on one and not on the other. We'll circle back on all these things. I had a really cool story I wanted to tell you at the end, but I think it is very important that we always get through all the things that we want to do. So let me pray for us.